Hello young scholars, welcome to World Cultures. This is Mr. Martyrum, and in today's video we're going to take a look at life in Europe during the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. So to begin, we're going to start with the breakup and decline of the Roman Empire. And by 395, the Roman Empire actually splits into two. And because of the lack of law and order, that eventually leads to an economic breakdown. The result of disease and declining birth rates, we see a decline in population. Germanic invaders from the northern part of Europe, like Attila the Hun, begin to disrupt and really weaken what's left of the Roman Empire. And by 500 AD, the Roman Empire, for what we know, is officially over. So what's going on in the East? Remember, the Roman Empire is split into two. The eastern part of the Roman Empire is called the Byzantine Empire, and they're actually quite successful for a couple centuries. They will eventually lose their control to the Ottomans in 1453, but for a majority of time, the eastern part of the Roman Empire does well, while the western part of Europe enters what they consider what historians call the Middle Ages. So what actually were the Middle Ages? So we know that historians refer to the classical period as from 500 BCE to 500 CE. And this includes things that we've studied from Era 3, the classical age of Greece, the Roman Empire, the Han Dynasty, the development of portable belief systems. Looking ahead to the future, we know that in Era 5, we're going to talk about a time period called the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is a cultural rebirth back to the ideas of the classical period. So in both the classical time period and the Renaissance, we're going to see Europeans make tremendous discoveries in art and science and technology. But what happens during the middle? What's the bridge between the classical time period and what historians consider the modern era? And that is the period known as the Middle Ages. This is from 500 BCE to 1400 CE. And some of the characteristics that you want to jot down in your notebook include there's a decline in trade in cities. People are now leaving those major urban areas for the safety and security of the countryside. There's very little law and order. The common person doesn't travel beyond their village. We're looking at life expectancies that are shorter than they were in Era 3. Life was limited really to the manor. We're looking at decentralized government, regionalized trade. People are only trading within their villages and manors. There's not this long distance trade because we've seen the breakdown of the Silk Road. The one organization that is dominant during this era is the Catholic Church. Most towns had a church. This was a way for people to come together and become organized. Few people during this time period in Europe knew how to read or write, and the church offered both of those skills. You were taught how to read and write the Bible. The church was really the only source of international authority and organization for many Europeans. During this time period, by the late Middle Ages, the Catholic Church is attempting to retake the Holy Land. The Muslim empires are expanding into the Middle East, and they have taken hold of Jerusalem. The Catholic Church under Pope Urban II is calling for a holy war to reclaim that Holy Land. So the Crusades, it's several wars over several centuries. They fail to reclaim the Holy Land. The Catholics are unsuccessful at taking back Jerusalem and the Holy Land. So the Crusaders fail, but if you were a soldier fighting for the Crusades, you did travel to other parts of the world, including the Middle East. So as these Crusaders came back home, and they brought back home silk and spices and other ideas on how to live, the new wealth and ideas from the Crusade that come back to Europe are going to help kick off the Italian Renaissance. One other result of trade and the Crusades into the Middle East is the plague. So the Black Plague or the bubonic plague hit most of Europe and Southwest and Central Asia and North Africa in the 14th century. This was the worst epidemic that humanity had ever experienced. It led to a complete breakdown of trade, and it leads to about 1/3 of Europe's population being killed. As a result of the plague, European society is going to be restructured. We're going to see the development of cracks among the Catholic Church, but there's also going to be new opportunity for those people that survived. During the Middle Ages, women made up 1/2 of the population of Western Europe, and their life was characterized by oppression. They had some opportunities, but were hampered by religious and secular laws. Women were considered to be subservient to men or their nearest male relative. Some of the jobs they held were running the household, and if you were of a higher social class, elite women, they could buy some luxury items. But most women during this period were not elite. Some women that ran businesses were educated in rudimentary math and basic writing so they could run the household business. Christian women were allowed to attend Mass on Sundays and other holy days, but they were often relegated to the back of the church or another side of the church, separate from men. So in Western Europe, we're seeing the role of women very slowly evolve compared to other parts of the world. And when we're talking about social structures, we are going to take a look at a political and economic system called feudalism. That's going to be in another flip video. You're going to compare medieval artwork and Renaissance artwork, and we're going to determine how are reflective of the societal changes of the times. Like always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always email me or message me on Google Classroom. Otherwise, I look forward to discussing the political, social, and economic changes of Europe during the Middle Ages in class with you.